ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome back to another episode of Books and Buds, the only station on the internet that has the balls to talk about the two greatest things on planet Earth, books and buds. So I got a big old stack of books right here, but I do a lot of reading on my phone, and today I finished reading Redbird. Now, this was a paranormal horror story written by my buddy Stephen Carr. I say he's my buddy, but we just met on the internet about maybe 4 years ago. We met in the summer of 2016 through a writers group, and the reason that we connected with each other because he started publishing all the time, commenting all the time, and leaving posts all the time within the group saying, "Hey, my short story got published. Hey, my short story got published." And eventually, one day, I realized, geez, this guy sure publishes a lot of short stories. It's like, you know, someone who's able to write that fast must not be able to write very good. So one day I clicked on one of these little short stories, and I realized actually he is pretty good. You know, he writes fast and he writes good, so that's pretty impressive. So he started back then. He started back then about, I don't know, the summer of 2016 or so, the spring of 2016. And since then to this day, he has not only written but published over 400 short stories. So I'm impressed by Steve. So he and I get along. He invites me to a lot of other groups he's in, so we've been published many times together, so I've had the pleasure of reading a lot of his short stories. But I don't typically review short story collections by my fellow authors because they're typically a little more difficult to write. You're trying to go over a bunch of short stories rather than one long one. It's just easier to talk about that. So when I found out he had a book called Redbird out, I decided it was time I delved in to see how good he could do it with a novel. And I was like, this is my time to do a solid for Steve because I really like him and I admire him and I wanted to leave a review for him. So I gave him 4 stars on Amazon with this book. So before we get into that, I'd like to invite you guys all to just please consider subscribing to my channel because every single time you do, it just helps. It helps boost the algorithms, helps get these books into other readers' hands, and potentially boost the careers of some of these people that you might not have ever heard of. Now, of course, in this channel we review other people like Stephen King, Dean Koontz, all the big ones, you know, your Dan Browns, your J.K. Rowlings. But I mean, some of us little guys need the bump too, everybody. So while I'm discussing Steve's book, I'm also going to be rolling up a little bit of Gorilla Glue. We just had a little bit of shake at the left of our bins after our trim party. That fell off after the dry trim portion of it, and we don't like to get rid of this to customers because it's just shake. So what I like to do is I like to collect it all and I roll little joints. And then I just leave these little joints hidden all over the house. It's kind of funny because then people come over and it's like Easter every day, you know? You go to make some coffee and you're like, what the hell is that in there? Before you put the filter in, you're like, hey, there's a joint in the coffee maker. You sit down to use the toilet. You go to grab some toilet paper and finish up, and then a joint rolls out of there and falls onto the floor. It's just funny. It's fun to make people's day, you know? It's nice to make people happy, as we learned from my last book review, Making My Sister Happy by Wajma Sultan. Well, I love making people happy. So that's what I'm doing. I'm rolling up some Gorilla Glue, and I'm going to hide some little gems all over the house and make people happy. Alright, so back to Stephen Carr's book. Now, he writes all over the gamut. He's written, I would say he's mostly a literary writer. That's just my opinion from the stories I've read of his, and I've read a lot of his stories. However, he writes in every single genre imaginable. I've read sci-fi, I've read fantasy by him, I've read horror. This book happens to be a horror. And of all the genre fiction, horror is my favorite, so I was really excited. And he didn't disappoint. It was a haunting tale. Now, I was, pardon me, so I was kind of, at the beginning of it, it was kind of like a children's horror story. You know, the main character is this young boy named Zane. And of course he makes many references to Zane Grey's famous Western novels in the book, and I believe that's where the boy was named from. Was his father was an avid Zane Grey reader. Anyways, so Zane, he has these hearing aids in all the time and everything else, and he's new in town. He likes to play baseball. He's going to this new school called Redbird, and it's in the Birds, this particular neighborhood in Cincinnati. And I learned that's where Stephen is from, so I do the same thing. I read a lot about central Massachusetts in my stories and novels. I don't know, writing what you know, I guess. You can't escape it sometimes. But he did a good job. He did a good job developing the backdrop because we had a couple different stores in the town, the school, a couple different houses, the baseball field. We had a pretty good idea of what this little town looked like, and I enjoyed that. It kind of started reminding me of like a Goonies, or maybe like a Stranger Things kind of a novel, or Stephen King It, where you get the idea of the small town backdrop and the young children who live in it. Also, my buddy Sean Burgess wrote a book called The Tear Collector that also reminded me of this type of a small town setting, and I enjoy those books. I think they're really nice. They're not too frightening. And that's what I thought until I got to the end of this book, and now all of a sudden, about 3/4 of the way through Redbird, all of a sudden I'm reminded of something by like Richard Lehman or Brian Keene or something, just completely horrifying and gore riddled. I mean, lots of horrible things are happening, and this young boy's involved in it. So it involves a lot of paranormal stuff. There's ghosts, and it's pretty cool because some people that are involved in the book, you don't realize that they're part of this whole paranormal experience that Zane is going through until a little later on. So Steve does a really good job at kind of keeping you on your toes in those regards. You're just like, oh wow, so this person was really involved in that, and oh, and that person wasn't really real. And I'll also kind of let you guys in on a little secret. Towards the end of the book, I wasn't sure. I was like, okay, did all this stuff really happen? Or is the main character just nuts? So Stephen did a really good job, because I prefer it when a book ends like that, where I'm kind of left questioning a couple things. I believe these things really did happen to this character, and he's just a victim of circumstance. It was just a wonderful read. The whole time you're feeling really bad for this young boy. You kind of want to reach into the pages and pull him out of it and bring him into your world and just go, all right, you know what? Let's just go play some catch out in the yard. We'll talk about your problems, you know, because that's what this kid needed. He needed a real influence in his life. He had an abusive father. He had an alcoholic mother. Half his teachers treated him like crap. And, you know, it was just terrible. It's just terrible. I mean, I have my own experiences as a child where I needed an adult to kind of just take me aside and tell me everything was going to be okay, which eventually I did get, and it helped. So I would have liked that for this kid, but he didn't have many adults doing this for him, but he did have a few. And it was just a great book. I just liked it. I like Stephen Carr. I knew for a fact he wasn't going to disappoint me. Like I said, I've read so many of his short stories, I just knew for a fact, excuse me, that I was going to be absolutely delighted with this book, and I was. That's why I left it 4 stars. Now, as I've told you many, many times before, I only give 5 stars to the books that really knock my socks off, because I don't want to come across as one of these people that's just going, oh, you're my friend, therefore I'm going to give you 5 stars. Oh, you're my friend, therefore I'm going to give you 5 stars. Hell no. I'm going to be honest. I try not leaving anything below 3 stars because, I don't know, I don't want to ruin anybody's career or anything like that by leaving a terrible review. I just won't review it if it's really bad. But I think 3 stars and above is pretty fair, because generally a 3-star was like, it was good. I liked it, but it didn't knock my socks off or anything. Well, Stephen Carr did a very good job, and I just like him. I just admire him. He's very supportive of the writing community, and I decided I want to do him a solid today. So, that's it for today's episode. You're going to be able to find a link to Stephen's book. Actually, I'll leave a link to his entire Amazon page in the description below, because I think you should go check him out. He's got several, I think 5 now, because like I said, he's pretty busy. He likes to write. I think he's got 5 short story collections on top of this novel, Redbird. Maybe pick one of those up and just see what you can find. Or you can find him on Facebook in many writers groups, or just go find him on Facebook, Twitter. He's constantly posting short stories that you can just go read for free. Type them into Google. Find one of his free short stories. Check it out for yourself. If you like it, pop back onto his Amazon page. Give one of his books a purchase. He's very good, and I think you'll be impressed. With that said, everybody, you could have checked into any book review station on the internet, and for some reason you decided to pop onto mine. We're nearing 100 subscribers, and I don't know why, but you guys keep liking my my reviews, so please keep it up, and I will try to continue doing these reviews as well. So thank you very much, everybody. I love the hell out of you. Peace.